Fair enough.
Welcome to In the Zone. I am Craig Zimmerman, and as I told my next guest, this is as close to St. Clair Blue as I get. So welcome, Sandy Rutledge.
Thank you.
We have to put it on retired educator, and that's all new.
That is all new.
All new. So we'll start from the beginning, as we do in these interviews. You're not a St. Clair born and bred guy, but not far away.
Correct.
Tell us where you
No, I grew up in the Thumb. I went to high school in North Branch. Was lucky that I started coaching when I was 18 at North Branch High School and coached girls and boys basketball all through college. I commuted to U of M Flint. So when I graduated from high school, I'd already coached 5 JV basketball girls teams and 4 boys freshman teams. So that's kind of helped me get jobs and get into coaching positions. I then went to Yale, got laid off, went to Marlette for a year, got laid off, went back to Yale for 7 years, and then came here in the middle of the 95-96 school year. So I've been a Saint ever since. Yeah. And my kids all went to school here, and so I'm not going anywhere anytime soon.
So tell us about your family, mother, father, siblings.
My dad was a truck driver, and my mom was a florist who was on every volunteer committee in town in North Branch through church in the city. And I have 5 siblings. I'm in the middle, so I have 3 older sisters and then a younger brother and sister.
Do some or most of them live in the North Branch area, or
there's still 3 of them there.
Okay.
And then I have 2 that live in Illinois.
Okay. So you know what's funny about North Branch from my perspective is that I would say I probably never knew where North Branch was until the BWAC.
Yes. Well, North Branch is between M24 and M90, and there's really no reason to go there unless you know somebody, because you're not going on your way to anywhere.
Okay.
So yeah, most people haven't been there. Most people, when I say I'm from North Branch, they say, "Oh yeah, I go canoeing up there." They think of West Branch.
Right, wrong branch.
Yes.
Okay. So you went to high school up there. Like you said, you coached up there. You were part of the community up there. Then where'd you go to college?
I commuted to U of M Flint, and so I got my degree there. Did my student teaching in Lapeer, at Lapeer East, which was a hated rival in high school. So that was a little bit hard.
Lapeer East at that time, how big would that have been? Lapeer East been a bigger school than North Branch at that time?
Yes. Okay. Yes, but they were a big Class B, and we were a smaller Class B. They eventually went to Class A.
Okay. Yep.
A few years later, into the early '90s, they were Class A.
How far of a commute from North Branch to U of M Flint would it be?
Roughly? It was about an hour one way.
Okay.
And I always tell people it's how old I am. I-69 ended in Lapeer.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
That was the end of the expressway. So you got off the expressway in Lapeer, and then it was another half hour back home. But
as a lot of things, it was a fairly easy drive, I would think.
Yeah, for the most part. Although it was frustrating. We would carpool, and it'd be snowy, and we'd leave at 5 a.m. and make sure we were there on time, and we'd get there, and none of the Flint kids were there.
Right.
And they'd cancel class. So the farm kids were a little tougher to get there.
Tell me about your children. Ages?
Yeah, well, my oldest, Haley, and I have 2 grandkids who are coming over here in a couple hours. She's working here locally at the River Crab.
Okay.
She's a graduate of Martin Methodist, which is down in Tennessee, where she played basketball.
Now, as typical scenario, I remember her playing high school basketball, so I'm going to take a guess. She's probably 25, 6?
Oh, yeah, she's 28.
Okay.
Sorry.
See, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And then my son, Darian, he graduated from Northwood in 2016, 2020, 2016 St. Clair grad. And he's 24, and he lives in Sterling Heights and works for a trucking company as an HR.
Okay.
And then my daughter Alexa is 21, and she is a senior at Northwood as well.
So you never have a unbusy weekend?
I do not. And then my stepdaughter Emma is 16, and she's a sophomore at St. Viator Catholic High School in Arlington Heights, Illinois. So she lives about 4 blocks where the Bears are talking about building their brand new stadium.
By the Arlington Race Park.
They're going to knock down. The racetrack is closed, which is a sad day.
Right.
I'm a race fan.
Okay.
But they closed it last spring, and
that's what they're
so
talking about.
she lives there. So I travel a lot to Illinois.
Now, the one thing we really don't want to dwell on, because it's sort of, I feel bad for you for some of the things you have to put up with your father-in-law and your brother-in-law.
Yes. Well, my wife has had to deal with basketball coaches her whole life.
Yeah.
Right? Growing up with her dad and her brother, and then me. So she's used to it.
In case somebody doesn't know, her brother is Sean Sherrow, her dad is El Sherrow, and so your wife was part of basketball coming out of the womb, I think.
Yep, pretty much. So.
Okay. So when did you decide you wanted to be a teacher and coach?
I started out 2 years in an accounting program, and I had already started coaching, and I just honestly found it boring, and the kids were so energizing. I just decided at that point that I wanted to be a teacher, and so I changed majors and went into education and had a long career and had a blast.
Yeah.
So.
And you landed in a pretty good spot when you consider St. Clair and the nucleus that was built up all the years, Coach Shaw and you know,
oh,
what
for
they've
sure.
done.
To be able, I mean, now that was really an impressive program to be able to come into.
Sure.
All the history that Fred Shaw and Tony Monty had created,
Yes.
the basketball program at St. Clair at that time, and so it was kind of a dream job, and I loved every minute of it. So.
Yeah. And I interviewed both Coach Monty and Coach Shaw, and they both still have basketball in their blood. You can tell.
Yes, they do.
I think Coach Monty is going to be probably an assistant for the varsity boys for Matt.
Well, he already has been. Even when he was in Florida, right. He was breaking down some film and giving Matt some scouting reports.
Yeah.
So he's already been involved, and I know they both have grandkids still coming through. So I know
that's the one thing he mentioned.
They're enjoying
he
that.
Came back to town to sort of continue to see that and watch it grow some more.
Yeah.
So give me an idea of your mentors in coaching or teaching.
Well, most early ones were there in North Branch. Jack Nellenbach was my high school coach, and Tim Zeman was actually both the boys and the girls varsity coach when I worked there. So, they taught me an awful lot for sure. And then, when I got here, my football coach Don Smesnik, who unfortunately just passed away, and there was a little memorial for him last Friday. Same thing. I think when you're young, all your high school coaches
right.
you look up to, and they teach you a lot of lessons, which is why we have high school athletics. But then once I became a teacher, certainly coming here, Fred Shaw and Tony Monty were both instrumental. Ron Miller was the athletic director at the time and hired me and as a coach, and Rick Rose and all of those guys were certainly influential in my career.
Yep. So let's go back and say from the time that you quit coaching and you got into administration, did you have much of a time where you sort of missed the games or the practice?
Yeah, I mean, you do miss it, and you're at the games.
Right.
I guess my mindset was that now I'm just coaching the big kids, right? Yeah. And so, as we were talking about earlier, we have so many coaches who are non-teachers. A lot of times, we're hiring coaches who have never been varsity coaches.
Sure.
And so, I just took the mindset that I'm coaching the coaches and,
sure.
and helping them develop the programs and the rapport with the kids and the parents. And so I enjoyed that part of it.
Now, you go back to watch a high school, say, boys or girls game. You still look at it from the coach's eye, right?
Yeah, you can't really help but. And because I was a basketball coach when I watched, I don't know anything about lacrosse. I really had a blast watching it. It's fun to watch.
It's intense.
If you haven't seen a lacrosse game, you should go watch the Saints play. They're really fun to watch. But I don't know anything about the rules and the things, but I watch it all through the eyes of basketball. You still attack the goal the same way in any sport. And so when I watch soccer and I watch lacrosse and the other sports, I still kind of look at it through the eyes of a basketball coach.
Yeah. Now, when you were in administration, did the coaches ever ask for your opinion on film or anything?
A few times, not too many, and I tried not to overstep my boundaries. Most of the time, our conversations were more about how to deal with situations with kids, and because I knew more about, especially with our non-coaches, I knew more about our kids academically and maybe knew their family better going into a season. So I could help them out with some of that.
Okay, sure. Now, being an administrator, is your day more hectic or less hectic, or just different hectic than being a teacher?
Oh, it's way different, but yeah, I mean, one thing can go wrong and it just totally hijacks your day. But that was the fun of it, is that it's
different.
I dealt with so many. You really go deep in relationships with kids that you have all year in your classroom, where I might not have that opportunity. I don't spend that much time, but I get to spend time with all 800 of them, and be at band camp and be at places that I wouldn't have been as a teacher. So it was a lot of fun getting to know way more of the kids in the building.
Well, and the one thing I noticed too is even just observing different activities that you might be at, whether it's a football game, a basketball game, a soccer game, a play, a band concert, is that when you look at them probably from an administrator's viewpoint, as much as you got into basketball and it was a big thing for these basketball players, it's the same thing for these band kids and theater kids and whatever else they're doing.
And they're Michael Voles and Mark Eberhard work as hard as any of our coaches on the band, and it shows on Friday nights. And I think we saw during COVID that we missed Friday night football is not as much fun without the marching band.
I mention that just about every night to Jesse, my partner in football games, because we did COVID without the band, and it was like you were missing a huge element.
It was like you're watching a scrimmage.
Yeah.
It was, and the band just adds so much to it, and those kids put so much time in, and they prepare and practice just like our athletes do. And same with our theater kids. Mark Eberhard in the theater program, and the same down in Marine City. Their theater program is phenomenal, and their band is great, and their choirs, and we're lucky at both ends we have the same thing. But they do work just as hard, for sure.
Okay. Any specific plans in retirement?
Well, I had a busy summer, so I'm just kind of settling in a little bit. My wife is back to school. She's a teacher in Warren Woods District, so she's back to work, and I got the list of things to get done at the house, and once I get that done, then I'll probably drive myself crazy and have to go find a job.
Are you having to cook?
I do, yes.
Okay.
And I like to cook, so that's kind of fun for me.
You got a little thing that you want to talk about here with the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, well, a couple things I've stayed involved in. One is the junior football. My son went through it, and then I stayed involved afterwards, helping in the administration of it, and so I'm staying on that committee. And I'm also staying on the Hall of Fame committee, which has really been fun. For me to sit with Rich Mallitz and Fred and Tony and Ron Miller and then some of the younger guys, Brad Robbins and Tom Brenner, and just talk sports and talk about our old athletes and the people. It's really a lot of fun to have the meetings. It's not one of those meetings you dread going to. But what we are looking for, we're hoping to have a Hall of Fame induction this winter. We haven't done one in a couple years. We did kind of a massive one when we thought the high schools were going to merge. And so we kind of put a lot more in that one time than we probably would have normally. So we've kind of been off for a couple years, but we'd like to do an induction this winter at a basketball game. So if anybody has anybody they want to nominate, they can go to the stclairathletics.org, which is our high school athletics page. And over on the right-hand side, there's a tab that says More, and it says Links. And you click on that, and there's a nomination form. And so you fill it out and tell us who should be in and why. And there's a few simple questions, and then we go over those nominations at the meetings and decide who will win.
And looking at it from a perspective of, you got guys like Tony Monty, Fred Shaw, they cover the 70s, 80s, 90s.
Yes.
Guys like you cover the.
Well, and Fred being a homegrown Saint, he
knows all
goes
of
back even farther. Yeah, and so it's fun to hear about some of the athletes, and I got to meet some of the people. It's really fun on that night to meet them in person.
It's something too that you might not have even known that person was a great basketball player or football player.
For sure.
It's like, wow, 1973. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So it's been really fun to do it, and so I'm glad that I get to stay involved. And so, but we need other people to. We can't think of everybody.
Nominate.
So if you have somebody that you'd like to nominate, go to that website or any of those people I just talked to. You can get a hold of them as well.
Right.
Or you can drop off the form at the high school.
There we go. Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Got
That's
it. Okay. Thanks for coming. If you know anybody that I should interview here, numbers on the screen, 586-707-5811. Like to sit down with anybody. We always learn something about the person, good, bad, or indifferent. If it's too bad, Paul in the booth can cut it out.
There you go.
So until next time, I'll say thank you very much, and we'll see you in the zone next time.